Maधava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Girivaradhari Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Tiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Yamuna Tiravanachari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Everyone. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Radha Gokulananda Radha Gokulananda Radha Gokulananda Shri Radhe Gokulananda Radha Gokulananda Radha Gokulananda Shri Radhe Jaya Sita Ram Lakshman Hanuman 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 Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Radha Gokulananda Nanda Bhagwan ki Sita Ram Lakshman Hanuman ji ki Prabhupada ki Hari Hari Bol Hare Krishna. Thank you all so much for following. For those of you who have just joined, this is the evening class of the Bhagavad Gita. So every day we do one verse, and today's verse is going to be quite interesting because we are going to explore a very unique quality of Krishna, and through his spiritual and material energies. And we're also going to be learning a little bit more about Prakriti. So can somebody tell me what is Prakriti? Nature, yes. So we are going to talk a little bit more about Mother Nature and how we relate to it and what is Krishna's, role in this whole thing. So we'll begin with an invocation to, let me just get my chapter right. So here it is. So we are going to do chapter 7, verse 12 of the Bhagavad Gita. So do we know how many chapters are there in the Bhagavad Gita?
18.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. So we have 18 chapters, and that's split into three broad areas, 3 broad yogas. Can somebody tell me which are those broad yogas? Bhakti Yoga. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. And do we know which chapters focus a lot? While they are spoken about in every chapter, but there is a special sequence in which Krishna says. Karma Yoga is the main focus, and which chapters are those? Would anybody else like to try? So Karma Yoga is the first 6 chapters. That's where Krishna talks a lot more about our duties. 7 to 12 is Bhakti Yoga, and 13 to 18 is Jnana Yoga. So while he talks of everything but these are the primary focus. And so chapter 7 is talks of which yoga then? Bhakti Yoga, yeah. So it's the first chapter of the Bhakti Yoga, and it is called the Knowledge of the Absolute. So we'll invoke the Lord each time we, try to learn about the Gita. So please do join me. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Chapter 7, verse 12. You can join me because I'll do this, shortly, one at a time. Ye chaiva satvika bhava Rajastamasamaschaye Matta evaiti tan vidhi Natvaham teshu te mai. We'll do this one more time. Ye chaiva satvika bhava. Rajastamasamaschye. Matta evaiti tan vidhi. Natvaham teshu te mai. Now I'll read the full one. Ye chaiva satvika bhava rajastamasamaschye yatta eveti tan vidhi natvaham teshu te mai. So now we are going to read the word-by-word translation. So please do join me. Ye, all which, cha, and, eva, certainly, satvikam, in goodness, bhavaha, states of being, rajasaha, in the mode of passion, tamasaha, in the mode of ignorance, cha, also, ye, all which, mattaha, from me, eva, certainly, iti, thus, tan, those, vidhi, try to come, na, not, to, but, aham, I, teshu, in them, te, they, mai, in me. Thank you so much. So now I'll read the full translation and also Prabhupada's purport. Know that all states of being, be they of goodness, passion, or ignorance, are manifested by my energy. I am, in one sense, everything, but I am independent. I am not under the modes of material nature, for they, on the contrary, are within me. I'm just going to repeat this one more time. Know that all states of being, be they of goodness, passion, or ignorance, are manifested by my energy. I am, in one sense, everything, but I am independent. I am not under the modes of material nature, for they, on the contrary, are within me. So we have a short purport or an explanation from Prabhupada, and then we will have a discussion on this. All material activities in the world are being conducted under the three modes of material nature. Although these material modes of nature are emanations from the Supreme Lord, Krishna, he is not subject to them. For instance, under the state laws, one may be punished, but the king, who is the lawmaker, is not subject to that law. Similarly, all the modes of material nature, which is goodness, passion, and ignorance, are emanations from the Supreme Lord Krishna, but Krishna is not subject to material nature. Therefore, he is nirguna, which means that these gunas or modes, although issuing from him, do not affect him. This is one of the special characteristics of Bhagavan, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Right, so we are going to begin this discussion with trying to understand a little bit of what is Prakriti. So we heard, I think for those of you who just joined, what is Prakriti? Nature. It's nature. It's nature. So it's, in fact, the entire world, the entire material world is Prakriti. And what is the, what do we think of Prakriti as? Do we think of Prakriti as masculine or feminine? Feminine, right? That's why we call Mother Nature. We don't call Father Nature, do we? It's always Mother Nature. It's always Bhumi Devi. So it's always, like Mother Nature. Now, let's try to understand a little bit about nature, because we think nature is really supreme, right? And it's, if you were to look at nature at a very cosmic level, you can see the entire universe. You can see, you can think of, the planets, the stars, the galaxies. And you can also see how there is a lot of space, and within that space you have galaxies planets, and within all those galaxies is the solar system, is the Milky Way, and within the Milky Way is the solar system, and within the solar system is planet Earth, and within planet Earth is all of us. That's all of us. So if you look at it what do you think of it? Do you think it's happened randomly, or do you think there is a structure to it? There is a structure, right? Because there is so many. Can you imagine, like all the planets, like orbiting each other, like the Earth orbiting around the Sun, and then the Moon orbiting around the Earth, and then so on and so forth. And you just wonder how come they never, collide into each other, isn't it? So what is happening here? What is happening? I mean, how do these? How does all of this come together? Isn't there a larger force? Isn't there a more divine force that is really trying to, put this particular organization, has this amazing structure, incredible structure that we can't even comprehend, and that's really in complete control. Do you agree? There is a force behind, isn't it? Okay, so now we were at the cosmic level. So now let's actually go down completely at the microscopic level. So how many of us are physicists here? How many of us has learned what is the smallest particle of matter? What is it called? Atoms, yeah. And what are atoms made of? Protons, electrons, and neutrons, right? And then, do you know the structure of the atoms? How is it depicted? So I can. So it's got the neutron and the proton in the center, and then the electrons are constantly, circling around the nucleus. It's called the nucleus, and then it's all, circling around this. And so you have a very spiral way of it. So you depict it as a lot of spirals that goes around one nucleus. Does that happen by chance? Does that structure happen by chance? No, okay. So this is what Mother Nature is, and she has a lot of structure, and yet many of us, we do not think beyond, what is that structure and who is really who's really responsible for that. And that really all boils down to one particular energy of Krishna, and that energy is called the material energy of Krishna. And is that all? Is that the only energy of the Lord? No. So what is the other energy of the Lord? The spiritual energy. So what we have seen so far, which is what influences Mother Nature, which is what controls Mother Nature, is the material energy of the Lord, of Krishna, and then there is also the spiritual energy, which is even more potent. So if the material energy can itself be so inconceivable, so incredible as we have seen, can you imagine how much would be the spiritual energy of the Lord? It's incredible, isn't it? It's really inconceivable. Now, let me ask you a question. We as living entities, what are we? Are we part of the material energy, or are we part of the spiritual energy? Spiritual energy. Is there anyone who would like to disagree with you? Why do you think it's a spiritual energy? Maybe we are all part of the material energy, because we live in this world, right? We live in this universe. So maybe we are part of the material energy, aren't we?
Should be both, right?
Should be both? Thank you. So how many of us think, okay, let's have a show of hands. How many of us think that we are part of the material energy? Let's have a show of hands. Okay. Please, please raise, if you believe so, please raise it. How many of us we believe that we are part of spiritual energy? A few more hands. And those of you who have not raised hands, what do you think?
A bit of both.
A bit of both, okay. Right. Okay. So, very interestingly, we are part of the spiritual energy of the Lord, and even in the Gita, it's been described that we are all part and parcel. So we are the divine spark of the splendor of the Lord. But we also heard that we probably have both. And maybe that's where the confusion really happens because we are part and parcel. So from a quality perspective, we are exactly like Krishna. And we'll come a little bit more into that. But what happens is what really binds us is the material energy of the Lord. And that is so powerful and that's so eternal. And we are bound in this world because of the material energy of the Lord. And that's what this particular passage is all about. So if you have to look at Krishna's energy, so Krishna has a lot of opulences. So he's got the Parashakti, which is the spiritual energy, and the Apara, which is the material energy. And we are part of the spiritual energy, and we are also called the marginal potency of the Lord. And let me take another, in terms of qualities, how do we relate to Krishna? Do we have the same qualities or do we have different qualities? If you were to look at a pure soul, if you look at us as a spirit soul, then we definitely have the same qualities as what Krishna has. And a good way to look at this is think of the ocean. The ocean is infinite. So it's you can't really measure how much of like water is there in the ocean. So it is inconceivable. It is infinite. So each one of us are drops of the ocean. So if you pick a drop of the ocean, how does it taste salty or sweet? Salty. Is it clear or is it opaque? I would say it's clear, right? Because it's water at the end of the day. So a lot of the qualities are very, very similar. Hare Krishna. So the quality-wise, we are the same as the Lord. The only difference is from a quantity perspective, Krishna is inconceivable. So that's where we are. And what happens is that we do not really understand our true nature because we have got enmeshed in this particular modes of material nature. So from there on, looking at nature extra, let's really move on to the modes of material nature. And there are three gunas that we spoke about. So can somebody tell me what are the three gunas? Yeah. So goodness, passion, and ignorance. And I also heard sattvic, rajasic, and tamasic. So there are three of them, and I'm going to just give a very brief description of each of those. So you will be operating in the mode of goodness if you are coming to the temple and worshiping Krishna. So many of you. But by the fact that you're here means that you are actually come here in the mode of goodness. When you're performing a kind act, when you're serving someone, that is also in the mode of goodness. When you want to know more about Krishna, that is also mode of goodness. When you're chanting the holy name, that's also mode of goodness. When you understand the pain of others and when you're trying to solve their pain and when you're trying to reduce their pain, that is the mode of goodness. And now let's come to the mode of passion. Mode of passion is largely when we are very, very competitive and we want to really we are in the pursuit of material wealth. We want to buy a good car. That's the mode of passion. We want to buy a good house. That's the mode of passion. We want to get our promotion and we want to get a fat bank balance. That's again a mode of passion. And that really drives us to doing some things. And because of that, we do a lot of endeavors. We mostly at the work. And many of us spend like 8 hours, maybe not just 8 hours, maybe 10 hours at work. And all that is because we want to really enjoy this particular world. And we are very, very competitive. We want to really get ahead of our, colleagues, etc. So all that is working in the mode of passion. Then we come to the mode of tamasic, which is ignorance. What can be some examples of tamasic? When we are lazy, when we want to procrastinate. Oh, I don't want to go to I don't want to get up today. I'm going to wake up. I mean, today's Saturday. I'm going to wake up at 8 a.m. So at 8 o'clock in the morning. And I'm going to have a very, 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 very unhurried day. So that could be tamasic. I'm very ignorant. I mean, I'm so ignorant that I take intoxicants. I take alcohol, I smoke, I eat meat. So what are those? What are those traits? Those are ignorance, right? So when you're acting in a mode of ignorance, when you don't have knowledge about the consequences of your actions, that's really tamasic. When you have an example of, for example, let's look at the example of Valmiki from who wrote the Ramayana. So there was a point of time when he. Do you know who's Valmiki and what he was before he became a devotee of the Lord? He was a dacoit. Yes, indeed, he was a dacoit. So he was a dacoit, and he was committing a lot of crimes, and he was hunting, he was killing animals and all. And why was he doing that? He was doing it for the family. He was doing it he was thinking that he's going to, save the family. He's going to try to get food for the family, etc. And then Lord Narad, and then Narad Muni came, and he's a celestial devotee who keeps, wandering across the universe. And he happened to, come across Valmiki, and he asked him, Valmiki, what are you doing? And then Valmiki said, I'm really, doing all these, acts, and he could see that. And then Narad asked him, why are you doing this? He said, I'm doing this to save my, for my family. And then he says, and then Narad Muni says, what are you doing? Whatever you're doing, do you think you're doing right? He said, yes, I'm doing right because I'm doing that to protect and to nurture my family. And then Narad asked this question. Let's. And then Narad asked this particular question. Do you think, so you're committing a lot of sin. So do you think your sins, do you think your family is going to take your sins? So he said, yes, they are going to take the sin. So then he goes to his wife and he says, I've committed all of these sins. Are you going to take these sins from me? She said, what is her answer? She said, no. Why should I take your sins? Because they are your sins. I'm not responsible for the sins that you commit. And then he goes to his son, and then his son, he loves his son so much, and then he thinks, my son is going to take my sins, and so he goes and asks his son, dear son, will you be taking my sins? And what does the son say? No. He says, whatever sins you commit are your sins, so why should I take the burden? And that's when Valmiki realizes, his folly. And he was so depraved that he could not even, say the word Ram. Because when Narad asks him to say the word Ram, he just cannot, because the holy name is none other than, Ram himself. And he was so depraved that he could not even utter his name. And so then Narad Muni said, in that case, why don't you, say Mar? Because Mar means in Hindi or in Sanskrit means to hit, to kill. So that's a word that he recognizes. So then he kept saying Mar and Mar, and then it became Ram, and that's how that was a pure transformation that really happened. So that's really a story of transformation. And what Valmiki is under the influence of what we said was the three modes of material nature, and he was really under tamasic, because he was under ignorance, and that's why he was committing all those sins, he was killing everybody, etc. Now let's come to the modern world, let's come to our lives. So what are we? So Are we acting in the mode of goodness? Are we acting in the mode of passion? Or are we acting in the mode of ignorance? All of them, yeah, and that's true, because in today's world, Prakriti or nature, the way it operates, is that everyone is under acting on a combination of permutation combination of goodness, passion, and ignorance, and you can see that that happens every day. It happens every minute. Sometimes you may be saying, I want to really do something good. And suddenly there is a part of you which will say, okay, let me stay in bed a bit longer. So you're really having to, like tussle, with this at some point. And so at any point of time, it's one or the other that's going to be controlling you. And so the question is, how do we try to get to operate mostly in the mode of goodness? So what is it that we can do to operate mostly in the mode of goodness? Spreading love, kindness, yes, indeed. And how do you really do that? Yeah, chanting Ram. So chanting is a very very like powerful way of doing that, because when you chant truly with Krishna in your heart, then you are going to really the name is going to purify you. And we are going to try a little bit of this before we just at the end of the lecture. So chanting could be a very powerful way of doing it. What else?
Talking to others.
Talking to others. But what do you talk about? Do you talk about sports? Talking about God, yes. So really association, yes, you can talk about sports because if that's what you like. But more importantly, if you truly want to, act in the mode of goodness, then it's important that you, speak about Krishna. You understand a bit more about his energies, his, his opulences. And whenever you hear more about him, then it purifies your heart as well, because then you want to get to know more and more about Krishna. And what else? What else can we do? By having faith. And what does that faith help us do?
Remember.
Create some bond between us and Krishna.
Yeah. So having that faith, it's really about surrendering ourselves. So and we find this not very easy, because we are souls, and if you remember that we are part and parcel of Krishna, and that our role is really Sachitanand, because we are supposed to be eternally blissful, we are supposed to be truthful, and we are supposed to be knowledgeable, but we don't feel that on a day-to-day basis, because many of the times we are so stressed out. We have so many duties to perform. So the more you keep chanting his name, the more you are able to really try to come much closer to him. Do you agree? Yeah. And that really brings us to, so if you understand that, then let's try to, get back to what we, began with. And I'm just going to read this translation once again. So what Krishna says here is that I'm in one sense everything, but I'm independent. I'm not under the modes of material nature, for they, on the contrary, are within me. So how do we understand this particular statement? So the three modes of material nature comes from Krishna. Do you agree? So is Krishna influenced by these three modes of material nature? Is he or is he not? Yes, no? No, definitely not. Because it is part of his potency, but yet he is beyond that. He is independent, and that's not very easy for us to, to fully appreciate. But I will take one example of. Let's take the example of his power and how he really controls it. So Prabhupada talks of this analogy of the mother scorpion, and how many of us know who or what a scorpion is? Do we know what a scorpion? Yes. Okay. So this the mother scorpion, she finds this, utensil of full of rice, and scorpions, they love rice, as you may be aware. So she goes there and then she lays the eggs, and then she goes away. and then the eggs hatch, and then there are lots of little, scorpions that come out, and of the rice. And someone who comes in there, and then he sees that, oh, you know what, a lot of scorpions is coming out of the rice, so that means that the rice has produced the scorpions. The rice has given birth to the scorpions. So will they be right in thinking that way? Why not? Because they don't know the full picture, because they do not know that it's really the mother scorpion which actually lay the eggs, and then that's how the little scorpions has come. And many of the times we do not really see the hand of God in how this gets controlled. Let me take another example. So how many of us work on laptops and computers? Many of us. And do we know how today laptops and computers has become so much of an expert that you can actually, at a click of a button, you can really do some some wonderful things. You can actually change that you can influence the wind and the air in the house. You can regulate the temperature. You can regulate the lighting in the house. You can do multiple things. So is it the computer which is doing it, and is it the computer alone which is doing it? No?
Because you have to click it.
You have to click it. You have to click it. And how did the computer get created in the first place?
My programs.
There would have been some computer engineer who probably would have assembled the hardware, the software, etc. So we don't see the engineer, we don't see the person who's actually done it, who's been able to give the computer those powers. But we assign, we just take the computer for granted, and we assume that the computer has got the potency, has got the ability to do it. But we don't know who has given that. And that's where Krishna's role is. Because Krishna, we may not be able to see him, but then if we really look deep enough, we can see that he's the person behind all of this. Because without him, nothing can really work here. No computer is going to be able to work. We are not going to be able to work. And but we don't really look deep enough to really think of his presence, think of how his invisible hand is there behind anything and everything that we see around us today. Do you agree? And that's why Krishna says here, and he's nirguna. So nirguna means that he is beyond the gunas. So how many of us know what's the name? What does guna mean? Guna means crime. That's interesting. That is a certain way by which you interpret, and it's called crime. But in Sanskrit, it's got a different meaning altogether. In fact, it's got two meanings. So one is quality. There is another meaning of the word guna. Virtue, yes, it is a virtue. Merits, yes. Merits, again, all qualities. But there is another, a definition of guna, which is rope. A guna is also called a rope. And if you were to look at the three gunas, which is, sattvic, rajasic, and tamasic, you can think of them as being ropes. And what they do is they are ropes that bind us to this particular cycle of birth and death. And as long as we are attached to those ropes, we will constantly be in this world. It's going to be very difficult for us to come out of this particular world. And how do we really get out of that world? How do we get out of this world? And that's really, all that we spoke about. So whether we do chanting, whether we come to the temple, whether we listen to Krishna Katha, whether we understand more about Krishna's opulences, that's when we truly start benefiting, and that's when we start really purifying our heart and be able to really overcome this, break those ropes, cut those ropes so that we can come closer to Krishna. And that's what we are really aspiring for. Isn't that beautiful? So Krishna is the energy of the Krishna does, the material modes does come from Krishna, but he's not affected by them. In fact, even some of the great personages like Brahma, Vishnu, like Brahma and Shiva, they are also impacted by the material world, but Krishna is not. And that's what it's important to really think about. So do we have any questions? Any reflections on what we discussed today? Prabhuji, do you want to speak a bit louder? Does Krishna have a material? Does he have a material life? So what would anybody like to answer that question? No, Krishna doesn't have a material life at all. So whatever Krishna does is what is called spiritual or it's transcendental. So his activities, whether it's Krishna Katha, and we listen to a lot of his pastimes in Vrindavan, in Gokul. So whatever he does in this planet are transcendental. So that's why whenever we listen to Krishna Katha, what does it make us feel? It makes us feel happy. So when we listen to when we hear him stealing butter, when we hear him play with the with the gopis, with the gopas, when he herds, when he plays the flute, all these stories that we hear about gives us a lot of joy, and these are not material activities. These are all transcendental activities. So anything, all the Krishna Katha that we hear about are all transcendental. And the more we hear about them, the more it purifies our heart. So anything and everything that we hear about Krishna are all spiritual, all transcendental. And hence, the more we hear about him, the more we can really purify our heart. And that's what brings us closer to him as well. And that's what can also cut these ropes that we have. And really, help us truly understand who we are and what's our relationship with Krishna. Does that answer your question? Any other question or reflections?
And why are we bound to all three gunas, like Raju, Sattvic,
Why are we bound?
Right.
We are bound.
If we are a part of the spirit, then he can send directly with the pure spirit.
That's a very good question. So Krishna has the greatest desire for him to come to us. However, we have made a choice to enjoy this world. So Krishna is the ultimate enjoyer but we want to have our own pleasure without really bringing Krishna into the center. So we want to go to the movies, we want to enjoy alcohol, we want to we want to enjoy all the pleasures in this world. We want to have good food, we want to have all of that, but we don't want to really put Krishna in the center of it. We want to do it without bringing Krishna into the center. And because he's given us the choice, that's why we are being impacted by it, and hence we don't understand what our true nature is. But if we do make choices that allows us to come closer to Krishna, then Krishna is going to make it easier for us to come to him. So we have to have the desire in our heart. If we don't have the desire in our heart to come closer to Krishna, then we'll constantly be in the cycle of birth and death. We want to become, for example, if we say, I want to be always rich, I want to enjoy good food, then maybe in the next lifetime you'll come as someone who enjoys good life. You could come as a cook, for example. But then you will still never break the cycle of birth and death. So you'll constantly keep coming in this cycle of birth and death. But the only way you can really come out of it is when you make a choice saying that I want to get out of this world because this is not where true happiness is. Because we know this world, even if we have pleasures, they're all very temporary, isn't it? You can eat a very nice meal and you can really have a great, it can satisfy your, your taste, your tongue. But then you may have some ill effects of it. You may have indigestion, for example, or you can get into some ailments. So there is really nothing like true happiness in this world. And what you really want to do is to overcome that, and that's where you have to use a choice. So Krishna has given you free will, but the question is, how are you exercising that particular choice? So he has put you in this mode of material nature with the hope that you are able to make the right choices that can help you come closer. Because today we want to enjoy without Krishna. And that's really the main cause of all the miseries that we have in this particular world. Does that answer your question?
It's usually been said, right? If you do something which you're passionate about, you would get that happiness, right? And one is seeking happiness. And say someone dies doing that passionate stuff and dies happy, then what does that mean? Will after life he will not come closer to Krishna, or was he already he has kind of broken the shackles since he made the right choice to follow his passion?
So whenever you make right choices in the mode of passion, you're still going to be bound by this. So the question that you need to ask yourself is like, what's really true happiness? And true happiness or spiritual bliss can only come when it's transcendental, when you come out of this mode of birth and death. Because as long as you're caught in this cycle where you're born, then you die, you're constantly going to be, having that, you're constantly going to, be incarnated. And the desire that you have and your karmic reactions is what's going to give you your next body. For example, if, as I mentioned, if your desire is to, for example, I don't know how many of you know about Bharat Maharaj. So Bharat Maharaj is was one of the pure devotees of the Lord, and he ruled the kingdom so well. And towards the last stage of his life, he saw a deer, and his attachment grew towards the deer. And he wanted to protect the deer, and because his mind was so focused on the deer and not on Krishna, so his next birth he came as a deer. So whatever your desire is, towards the end of your life, is what you, is the kind of, a body that you get. And of course, it's also a function of your karmic reactions. So what the Bhagavad Gita says is that for you to really come out of this, for you to get true happiness, you should try to bring your desire closer to Krishna, so that at the time of your death, if you keep remembering Krishna, then you attain him. And there are a lot of examples in the Srimad Bhagavatam where where you constantly keep in your last moments, you constantly keep thinking of Krishna, and that's when you try to break the shackles of birth and death. Otherwise, you are going to constantly come here. So coming to your question about happiness, so what you may die happy, but then you will still come into a world, into this particular world in a different body based on what your desire was when you last left this planet. So you'll still come back to this particular earth. But is it what you want to do? Do you want to come back here, or do you want to go to the spiritual world? So that's a question that you need to ask yourself. You will come back in a way, in a body that that's close to your desire. So Krishna does give you your desire, but then there is also the aspect of your karmic reactions, because if you perform a lot of sinful acts today, then you are going to, it's like, what you sow, so shall you reap. So whatever fruits, what if you commit sins today, then you are going to atone for it, if not in this particular lifetime, in another lifetime. If you commit good activities, then that also gets carried forward to the next lifetime. But if you do spiritual activities, then that keeps adding up, multiplying, till you come closer. So when you come, and that's why, we're very fortunate to be born in a human form, because today we have the ability to think. The fact that we have come to the temple, the fact that we are having this conversation, the fact that we're discussing about Krishna means that we want to really, we are at a certain level of consciousness. But what if we take birth as an animal? Our consciousness will be so low that we won't even know what God is. But that's not what we want to be, isn't it? So we want to make full use of the human body that we have and try to make the right choices so that we come closer to Krishna and really try to come out of this particular cycle of birth and death. let's reflect on that. And we are going to come to the Aarti quite soon. And what I thought we could do is to really connect with, like Krishna with a true desire and a sincerity in our heart. And let's pray to him for the next few minutes. And please do join me. We'll be just singing the Maha Mantra. So you can close your eyes for now. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Everyone. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki. Thank you all so much for coming. And now let's be there for the Gaura Arati. So, so you all can take your seat because we'll soon have the Arati now.
but we need the book.
Yeah, we do need, right?
Will it come up?
Automatically.
Yesterday it didn't come up. Hello.
Does anybody want to do this?
What I'll do is I'll get the book outside otherwise. श्री श्री राधा गोकुल नंद की लक्ष्मण हनुमान की शिव जयो जयो गोरा चांद रे आरती को शोभा शिव जयो जयो गोरा चांद रे आरती को शोभा नानाविता तावाने जग मन लोभा नानाविता तावाने जग मन लोभा दक्षिण निताय चाँद हमें गदधारा दक्षिण निताय चाँद हमें गदधारा निकाते अद्वैताशिनी वसा चतुर्धारा निकाते अद्वैताशिनी वसा चतुर्धारा बोसी जते गौरा चाँद रत्न सिंहासने बोसी जते गौरा चाँद रत्न सिंहासने आरती को रे ना ब्रह्मा आदि